Good morning. This is Phyllis Kramer. I am the Vice President of Education for JewishGen, and I'm proud to offer you these 6 short videos on how to do genealogy. We will cover preparing for your search, how to navigate JewishGen and thereby find your ancestral town, how to communicate with other researchers and use the JewishGen databases, and also special interest groups. We'll start with how do you start your search? Well, most people will start with a hand-drawn tree, selecting one branch that they would like to investigate. They'll put the great-grandfather or as far back as they can on the top and show the children and the different generations one after another. At some point, you may go into a software family tree, which will make up very pretty family trees for you to give to your friends and family, but in the meantime, we start with the descendant family tree. In our classes, we focus on this chart because it has everything a genealogist needs to know. Birth, where and when, marriage, where and when, immigration, death, where and when. And when I don't know the answer, I put in a question mark. They're wonderful for telling me what I need to research. And I like to label my charts with how they relate to me, my great-great-grandmother, my great-aunt. But how you label it is really a matter of how you feel comfortable. But where would you get this information? Well, you begin by selecting the branch and talking to your family and drawing out a tree for that branch. You're going to start with the census, go to vital records, manifests, and then the more complex documents of military documents and naturalizations. You're going to collect treasured photographs. They are absolutely priceless. Do not put them in the sunlight. Keep them in plastic. You can buy little plastic sheets at Office Max or Staples and put them in there. You should do the same with any wonderful old documents that you have, originals. But everything else, things that you find on the internet, copies of papers, that you can do one of 2 things with. You can put them into a loose leaf with tabs for the various surname families, or even better, if you're comfortable with the internet, make a folder named with your family and then put the items inside that folder. Start with the census. Why do we start with the census? Because it has the data. It doesn't have to be cast in concrete facts. It's what the people told the census taker. The census in the United States was taken every 10 years from 1790 to 1930, and you can access them at no charge at familysearch.org, or if you have an Ancestry subscription or you get Ancestry at your library, Ancestry.com. This is an example of a 1920 census. Notice that the 1920 in the upper right, and here is what kind of information it will give you. The person's name, of course, but then his age, whether he's single or married or a widower, his year of immigration, if he's naturalized or not, and when he was naturalized, where he was born by country, what his mother tongue was, and where his father and his mother were born. The second line shows a female, widowed at 50 years old. She came here in 1885. She's naturalized, and she was naturalized in 1895. This is wonderful information, and that's why we start with the census. This is vital records now, birth, marriage, and death. You get parents' names. You get where they're living. You get how many children there are in total. Wonderful information from birth certificates. Here's a marriage certificate with the parent's name. And here is a Social Security application. Around the late 1930s, people wanted Social Security, so they filled out this application. We call it first person. There was no clerk taking down this information. The person filled it out himself and signed it. This makes it even more valid. This is for a person. He gives you his father's name, his mother's name, where he was born, what business he was in, and he signs it. This is a death record showing the fact that Moses Linda was married at 60, and he's 62 when he died. He was born in Austria. He was in the United States for 20 years, very important if you're looking for the immigration records, and who his parents were, and also very important, where was he buried? Because it is the tombstone that will give us the Hebrew names, and sometimes they're very important because that's the names they came here with. Here is a probate. It's a little bit more complex, but probates are public information. You have to go look them up, though, in the probate court where the person lived. But it will tell you the names. Look, in this case, the great-granddaughters, the granddaughters. Where did they live? What's the relationship? Wonderful. You can look under the local newspapers. Many of them are online. Books are online. This can be primarily done online, but also in a library. When you find the tombstone, what you want on the tombstone is the Hebrew name of the immigrant and also the name of his father. What we see circled over on the right says Dover, that was his father. Halevi, he was a Levite. These are key pieces of information. On the left-hand side, we see the wife. In this case, her father was David Lev. So that's why the tombstones are so important. Here's a manifest, and sometimes they're not easy to find. Remember, they came with their Hebrew names, Liba Lieber, and Simcha Herbst. Those are the names, the occupations, the ages. Where did they come from? Sometimes last permanent residence, sometimes town of birth, sometimes it will give you who they're coming to. It depends on the year when they filled out that application, that manifest. They did not write these names in. They were typically done by the clerks in Europe. And by the way, names were never changed at Ellis Island. The clerks in Ellis Island did not have that capability. The names were changed by the immigrants because they wanted to be more Americanized. This is a draft also on Family Search and Ancestry, showing where this man was born and showing where this man was born. And a naturalization. If you can get to the naturalization, they are usually wonderful. After 1906, when the INS became the force in naturalization and standardized it, the naturalizations will say where they came from, who they married, when they married, where they married, what are the children's names, and after 1929, even a photograph. If you want more on preparation, I'd suggest you try a genealogy class. We have them on Jewish Gen. You can find them under the Get Started oval. And you have very many basic classes, search classes, independent study classes, Jewish Gen classes. Take a look. Thank you for listening. I hope this helps. And next we have